Welcome to After the 80 Intrust Super Competition. I'm your host, Terry Pascoe. On today's show, we'll take a look at week one of the final series. We'll discuss the winners from the 2018 awards dinner. And Connor O'Brien from the Gold Coast Bulletin will join us to discuss all the news from the GC. Joining me on the panel each and every week is Anthony Bomber Breeze and John Devine from Calling All Sports Brisbane. And if you'd like to join the discussion, you can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Just search After the 80 TV. And you can also download us as a video podcast on iTunes. So you can watch us on your iPhone, Samsung, whatever you've got.
Microwave.
You can watch us here, microwave, as John's saying. All right, Intra Super Cup finals started off with a huge bang. Gentlemen, some strange results. What are your thoughts? Well, I know, Bomber, you tipped Ipswich, but did you see East winning?
Oh, well, that's it. I don't know whether anyone did tip the Jets. I did there. Like, obviously, they're like the Broncos of the Intrust. Nobody wants to play them through the final series because of the way that they do play there. And obviously, we did watch the game together. They just come out and had the ball, kept the ball. And when you keep the ball off the opposition there, you seem to be able to complete your sets. And they did that, and their little men ran them around again.
John, what are your thoughts?
Well, the comparisons there, 32 points to both the winning sides there. But the interesting stat too from both those games, both sides led 20-0 at half-time. And in an elimination footy, that's really hard to come back from. And they were, pride was shot. They weren't at home theoretically, but the Tigers, good on them. And the beautiful thing I liked about that Tigers game, Bomber and Terry, was the fact that Josh Ralph and Braden Torpey, the two halves, have played all year in the BRL competition, and when those two combine, it's outstanding what they can do. And Ralph ends up with, we'll go through the footage shortly, but it's great to see that pathway where players are coming up and stepping, and that's where they won. And with the Jets, they had their full complement. Blackhawks were a little bit injured, not as much depth. So
that's right. Well, let's kick off. Let's have a look at some of the highlights. We'll start off with the Townsville-Ipswich game. There was a strange build-up because the Walkers obviously lit the fuse during the week, suggesting that the Blackhawks were exploiting the HIA. But I guess, I don't think we did see any HIAs. We might have seen one.
There was two, actually.
There was two?
They used two and the Jets used none.
But it was an interesting game, and it was Ipswich of old. It was, chancing their arm. They completed at 65%, and, as we were just saying, you don't expect Ipswich to have a high completion rate with the style of play they play, but geez, it paid off for him with Michael Purcell scoring there, and he walked away with a double. But
it's as Scott Sattler has said to us on the Sports Show numerous times, is what you do with that 65% of the footy when you've got it in hand. And yes, it was the Jets of old. Some of these tries are amazing. I mean, you allow that to bounce, and all of a sudden, Chris Ash pounces and away they go. But there were tries in the Intrust Super Cup semi-finals that you won't see in an NRL game week in, week out. It's just wonderful rugby league. And when the Jets are on song, they're a confident side. They've just got the ability to just turn a game on the head. And they did that, and they did it for the seventh week in a row.
But they just counter-attack well. Like they're attacking here, and all of a sudden comes back to a front row. You think he would just take the ball up there, but what's he do? Right, get to the kangaroo catcher and shut the gate.
Carry it with two hands. Geez, you reckon you'd be a coach, you'd just be screaming at. Don't hold it out like it's a cake.
Look, you're right, Bomber. The Jets were just playing the outside. Davey goes across. He has a habit of scoring tries on their right edge for the Townsville Blackhawks. But it was just all over. The Blackhawks have struggled for the last 7 or 8 weeks, whereas they come up against a red-hot form in the Jets. And that's my argument with the 3 plays 6, because you can finish third for the season, so you're the third best side all year, and you come up with a red-hot side like the Jets. Next one, you're out of the competition. So, kudos to the Jets, but Townsville will be saying, well, what's the point in finishing third?
Now, the other important question out of this game was Jalen Feeney in the 52nd minute did his left knee, serious left knee injury. They strapped him up and kept him on the field, and he lasted all of 5 minutes before it was an attacking play, and he just collapsed. It looked like nothing, and he just fell down. Should he have come off? Should they have protected him?
I'd imagine it'd be his call.
Well, obviously, earlier in the year, maybe he would have come off. Obviously, this is make or break game there, so maybe that's why they did, and they thought, well, if his knee's buggered.
But he'd have a fair say. He'd know whether he couldn't put weight on it or whatnot, so some of it would be his call. Yeah. But it's interesting how all of a sudden they strap a guy up there with a knee, and obviously they've been talking about the HIH with the Townsville Blackhawks. But my biggest beef in the competition is, trainers come out and they've got their hand in there trying to stop the play even before they get to the player who's injured. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they get back to their feet, but without actually consulting the player. So I think Finn, he's he's like Blake Leary. I mean, Blake Leary hurt himself before he went into that Residents game, and he paid the price.
And I think that's also they're a victim a bit of the having a 4-man bench that are all front rowers or forwards. So they didn't have a spare half that could go in there, especially when Clay was out as well. So they didn't have their standard half. And then I'm trying to think of his name. Is it Henson, who played in the halves for him? He got injured as well. So they really had no other option. So it was a bit of a unfortunate day.
But he's a better bomber to have a prop forward fit at number 6 than some of these on one leg.
Oh, well,
somebody's in the way, isn't there? They might get around him, but they mightn't go through him. But rather than open a gap up.
Yeah, and I think the other thing stat before we move on, I'd just like to highlight is Townsville completed at 47%, and I'm sorry, but that is not acceptable even in a club game, a regular season game. So, all right, let's move on. Pride took on East Tigers 32-0, and as you said, it was 20-0 at half time. This game, no Drinkwater and Croft for East. They did have Cassiano, who did return, which under the eligibility rules, because Melbourne is still in the competition, he's able to play. He played a bit of a difference, but I guess it worked the opposite for the Pride because Paul Green challenged Jake Clifford during the week to drop back to the Pride and push their finals chances, increase their finals chances with him coming back. And it's like it backfired. It was like it should have, they should just stay with the same side that was winning.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say. It's hard when you've got a player of Drinkwater's ability there. He's got to be in the side somewhere there, and obviously when he was out there and Cassiano was put there, I think the Pride were double odds on. You would have had to get the money on them, but obviously he's turned up to play there and. Good on him. Yeah,
and I think you had mentioned before, Josh Ralph, he scored a hat-trick of tries for East in this game, and they did score 3 of their first tries in the first 28 minutes, which, like you said, semi-final football, you can't do that. But I wanted to ask you, you've seen Josh Ralph, you've seen Ralph, you've seen Torpy play in the BRL competition. They are electric when they play together.
Yeah.
Is that something that, we've seen Scott Drinkwater named as 5'8" this weekend, but do you really want to just put him back on fullback position and put Ralph in there next to Torpy?
Look, Scott Drinkwater, you can't say no to having Scott Drinkwater, but he draws all the attention. Like Jake Clifford, I think they drew a lot of attention towards Jake Clifford, and they shut him down, so he came out of the equation. But with Josh Ralph and Braden Torpy, look at this for a one-on-one strip. That's just genius, isn't it? That's guile to do that sort of thing. But if Drinkwater comes back, there's no problems. I don't think they've got Marley Sevi scores a wonderful try there. He's played in the BRL. He's played for South. He's a live one, but he's a confidence player, and he wouldn't look out of place actually in the Jets lineup, Marley Sevi, the way he plays rugby league. But look, you got to bring Scott Drinkwater back. I think Scott Sybil's got a balance of riches there to go up against the Jets. If these two sides play fully like they did in those two semi-finals, and the same sort of tries are scored, mate, whoever's calling that game, look out, you're going to be drawing breath every 2 minutes.
Salty's head's going to explode.
Salty will have an intravenous drip in the side of his neck, I think, just to keep him going. But it'll be a crackerjack game. But congratulations. These, as you said, Bomb, everybody wrote them off. 32 zip, wow.
But it wasn't hard to write them off. You got no Drinkwater, you got no Croft, and Jake Clifford comes in.
If you're a trainer of a horse, you begin at the steward's office, and I'll tell you what, there'll be samples left, right, and centre. But look, at the end of the day, rugby league's a funny game, and you're only as good as your last 80 minutes.
And you mentioned him before, Marion Sevi ran for a huge 230 metres in that game, which is a huge effort.
I've got a lot of time for Marion Sevi. He's a confidence player, and they drew attention to him. I remember the South game where he scored that try late. Everybody's looking at what Drinkwater's going to do in those last final minutes, and that was perfect for East. And they just gave it out to Marley Sevi, and away he goes. And he's got a brother too, who's just as crazy.
Oh, well, the whole Sevi name there, there's about 3 of them that do play in the Ipswich competition. So there's a lot of them around there. Like I said, he was at the Ipswich Jets when the Broncos put him back to the Jets there, but obviously he left there, and obviously he's found his home there, and like I said, he's one of the form Tigers, isn't he?
Yeah, can we take a moment to also talk about Scott Drinkwater's debut in the NRL? I thought he was outstanding when he played. I mean, it's his first game. You don't expect miracles, but geez,
he nearly got a miracle. Scored a try, should have scored 2 tries, ran for over 200 metres there. Not a bad effort on your debut.
And I think he was dudded out his opening try as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, the Intrust becomes a pathway to the NRL, and Scott Drinkwater, he's had a biased time, and people talking about Jerome Hughes and that. I think Scott Drinkwater, I remember Wayne Bennett playing the Broncos when Stephen Renouf was out of form against a weak side in the States there, and Renouf went gangbusters. He got the confidence and became a World Cup champion. I think Drinkwater has actually, shown his skill and confidence in that and steps up to the NRL and away he goes. And congratulations, Scotty. He's been outstanding in the back half of the season.
Certainly has. All right, all that footage you saw was courtesy of the QRL media. If you'd like to see all the highlights and interviews from the weekend, please head to qrl.com.au. There's some amazing stories up there at the moment, especially around country football. Now, the 2018 Intra Super Cup Awards dinner was last weekend with the inaugural Petro Civoniceva going to Nat Neil. Bomber. I mean, are you just going to just start running around the studio?
Yeah, well,
Nostradamus.
Yeah, well, that's it there. And it's good to see the refs don't get enough raps, but finally, I'll give the referees a rap. They've looked at the forwards, they don't look at the halves and the 5'8", look at the forwards.
I agree with you, Bomber. I agree with you.
And you said the same thing.
Yeah,
That's it. They do all the dirty work and don't get the credit. The flashy ones, they get it. They get all the credit, but good on the referees. They've got it right this time.
Yeah, and I spoke to Shane Walker straight after the awards, and I said, "Oh, can I get a chat with him?" He said, "Well, for the sports show on radio," he said, "You'll never get 2 words out of him."
No, I've interviewed him before.
And as Shane
I tried
said,
to get him on the show there this week, but they said no,
but
he's not a real public
he
speaker.
does all his talking on the footy
On the field, yeah.
And that's what you want from your players. You don't want the shows, the chatterboxes and all that sort of stuff. And Nate Neil, congratulations. Quite gentle giant, but wow, what a footballer.
Yeah, no, I think we all would have saw his speech. It was a bit, it was hilarious, but you could tell he doesn't like public speaking. He was up there, but I know Petro was a huge fan that the first year of his award goes to a front row forward.
Welling up right now. Fantastic. Yeah.
But he won the award, and then he come out in the weekend, and he was the man of the match again for the Jets. So he just loves football.
Yeah. He does love football. Too bad he's a Kiwi. Yeah. Now let's have a look at the team of the year. I'll just run through the list and we can have a discussion about it. Fullback was Scott Drinkwater. Yep. Winger, Lower. Centre, Staggs, Katoni Staggs. Billy Walters, 5'8". Halfback, Jake Clifford. It's a rort. Kevin Cullen should have won that. Prop was Nat Neil. Pat Pulatoni as hooker. Second row is Patrick Kafusi. Lock, Jamil Hopewadi, well deserved. He should have been higher up. And coach Ty Williams. Guys, gentlemen, what are our thoughts?
I think they got it right. I think all them positions there. Pat Pulatoni, he was your tip.
Yeah.
He was the best hooker. Jamal Hopewadi, I've been raving about him all year. He's gone great. Katoni's Staggs. So I don't think they missed out on anyone. I think they got it right.
Yeah, Jamil's one of those players. He plays, and I don't like to compare too much with the NRL, but he's a bit like Jake Travojevic. He's that first receiver. He's a ball player, but geez, he can storm over the line. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. How do you pick that? It's just like there's 14 teams and every one of them on their day can be outstanding. I think they got it pretty well right. Ty Williams, coach of the year as well. So does he get that job, or does it go to Ben Wolfe, who picked the tweet up off the carpet, or does it go to Scotty Sipple, who's obviously brought the side from a disastrous start to actually now being contenders? But I don't know. I did ask who actually are the judges for that. I don't know who they are, but I think they got them pretty well right. But you would have been one of them because you can pick the player of the year.
Yeah,
you'd have to be.
Yeah, I was a silent one.
Right. So
that's why they got it right.
Yeah, but that's right. So look, wingers. How many of them are there? There's hundreds of them. Purcell and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. But
I think it was a good night. There was some other awards as well with Colts and under 18s, and obviously the women's representative of the year.
Just on that, Steph Hancock, there's a player who was actually thinking about giving the game away and comes back, wins the representative player of the year. She couldn't believe it, and she had to go at Jason Hetherington, asking whether she'd play again next year. And, if there's a Bola Bundy involved, Steph might be lured back, so she'll be back. And
I just want to mention as well, I went to Suncorp Stadium on Sunday to watch my beloved Manly go down dramatically, but I actually went early to watch the PNG and Broncos girls go up against each other. Geez, Brisbane Broncos girls, they've got some dynamite players in the half. I reckon they'd go close to taking out that. We've not seen the other sides. I know they've got the Roosters have signed the New South Wales squad.
Well, Roosters got a good side too.
Yeah, but it's credit actually to the Ipswich brothers Ipswich side, who have a great women's side. Brayley plays for those. It's well done to Ipswich and the Women's Rugby League. Hopefully it gets big and strong next year.
All right.
Join us live on Phoenix Media this Saturday for the Rugby League Ipswich Grand Final clash between the Bombers and the Tigers. Our live stream telecast will commence at 4 p.m. when our commentators preview the battle that will be played out at North Ipswich Reserve. The Rugby League Ipswich Grand Final, live, with kick-off at 4 p.m. this Saturday on Phoenix Media Hub and on phoenixradio.com.au, Brisbane Youth Radio 1197 AM and DAB+.
Finals week 2 kick off this weekend, and the Gold Coast #1 rugby league reporter Connor O'Brien joins the show. Thanks again for your time, mate. But what are your thoughts on the final series so far?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. Look, it's I guess there's been a couple of upsets already, which always is exciting in finals to throw a bit of intrigue into the mix. But yeah, I've got to say I didn't expect both of the North Queensland teams to lose on home turf. So that was that was a little bit of a shock, I thought.
Yeah, definitely a huge surprise. Now, huge weekend for Burleigh going up against the minor premiers. Haven't we seen this scenario before?
I know, it is a bit of deja vu, isn't it? So 2 years ago, exact same scenario. Burleigh went up to Dolphin Stadium in the grand final qualifier, and Burleigh would love to have a repeat of that. They went out there in the first half. I was up there, and it was just a clinical first half. They went up, led 28-0 at half-time, and from there, they kind of eked it home 40-24 and got into the grand final, and then went on to win the premiership. So I'm sure they'd be loving to go in the along the same path again.
Now, the Bears have named Jamie Dowling in the halves. Is this a bit of a risky move?
Yeah, look, it was an interesting one. So basically, they were forced into making a change. They've been playing Dylan Sibby in 5'8" alongside Jamal Fogarty, but Vivian has been suspended for a match following their win over the Tigers in round 24. And so they were kind of tossing up between Jamie Dowling, who's usually a centre or a back rower. He's only played one game at 5'8" this year, and a young guy, Josh Rogers, who's played 7 games this year, and they've gone with the experience of Dowling. He doesn't have probably the creativity, but he's certainly got the experience. He co-captained the side in 2016 to the premiership. But what it will do is it will mean that Fogarty and Pat Politoni, the hooker, both of those guys will, have a bit more emphasis on their kicking game and creativity.
Now, Burleigh take on a familiar face, with Redcliffe Skipper being their premiership-winning halfback back in 2016. Has he got a bit of a target on his back?
Well, I guess they certainly know exactly what Cameron Cullen can bring to the table. Cullo was massive in that premiership win, he's a very dangerous player, very good runner of the ball, got a good show and go, and they certainly, I know Jimmy Lenihan and the guys down there are going to be very wary of Cullo on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge clash on Saturday night. Will we see you there, Connor?
Not sure yet. Still getting. Haven't thought that far ahead. Hopefully, it'd be great to get up there. But yeah, it will be a fantastic game of footy. So really looking forward to it.
Life of a rugby league journo, everyone. You just don't know what's happening each day, mate.
That's it.
What can we see in the Gold Coast Bulletin in the coming days?
Yeah, look, we'll have plenty more coming up on this game. Certainly it's coming to crunch time for the Burleigh Bears, and we'll also have a Q&A feature with the Burleigh women's coach Tanya Norris, actually ahead of the NRL Women's Premiership too. So certainly plenty of Bears coverage to look out for in the coming days.
Awesome. All right, Connor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Connor O'Brien there from the Gold Coast Bulletin. Like I said, just check out your local news agencies for the Gold Coast Bulletin. You can see all those great stories. Now, on to week 2 of the final series, gentlemen. Well, I guess tipping's still hard in the finals, isn't it? So you've got first game up, East and Ipswich. That's going to be an absolute cracker game on Channel 9. I just still don't know how it's going to go. Scott Drinkwater named as 5'8". I just feel like they should have just kept that combination of Torpy and Ralph there and moved Scott at the back, but I'm not a coach. What are your thoughts?
Well, that might still happen anyway.
Yeah.
There, you know what coaches are like. They're putting him there, so they'll go, oh yeah, we'll get Drinkwater there, and he'll probably go back to fullback anyway there. But But like you said, on form from last week, and what John said earlier there, if the Jets and the Tigers both bring what they brought last week, we're in for long-range tries, we're in for intercepts, we're in for everything in this game there, and I don't know who to tip. Well, I do know who to tip, but
Is that how the Tigers beat the Jets? Playing the style they played last week, throwing it around, keeping it alive, sending it wide, and then the Jets have got to go, hang on a second, we're not used to this orthodox play, which actually Townsville threw them last week. So the 2 tries that Townsville scored were orthodox tries with Davey and company and Jensen. So do you, does Scott Sibbel, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, throw it around and see what happens?
That's the one thing I was asking, and I know I was talking to you at the BRL, and I know you and Brian laughed at me when I said if East Tigers win without, if Scott Drinkwater, he could still be called up to Melbourne. If he's out of the side and they win again, do you bring Brodie Croft and Scott Drinkwater back into the side? Like, if your team's winning, why change the formula? Like, I know they're great players. There's no questions there. But if your team, as a whole, if you're winning,
Mate, if you lose and you haven't picked those guys, you're going to look pretty silly. So you've got to pick them. They're NRL quality players, and they should step up. But that's if you're a club man, you forfeit your spot to bring up the shiny guys.
Did it work for the Pride though?
Pardon? No, it didn't work for the Pride. But there was only one man. They targeted him, and he was out for a while, whereas Drinkwater's just been on fire for weeks, week after week.
All right, and that was the elimination final. So the loser out of that game gets knocked out of the competition. The other game is the qualifying final. Now that's against Redcliffe Dolphins and Burleigh Bears. That's up at Dolphin Stadium at 6 o'clock.
I will take it from here, Terry, because you know what you're going to say. We got it right there.
Are you questioning my integrity?
Not your integrity, not at all. Just the Norman May one eye to a degree. But look, this is how good a game is this going to be as well. This is, you're going to get the kids in the playground between the Jets and the Tigers, and then you're going to come up against the Dolphins and the Burleigh Bears, who will just, it's going to be a game of chicken, who blinks first and which forward pack gets up. Blake Leary's back, how good? Is he going to be fit enough to play a final like this? I'm not too sure. Adam Mogg's got players left, right and centre. Sam Anderson, it's just, toss the coin, and that's what you want in this sort of competition, 1 and 2 going hammer and tong.
And the downside to Redcliffe, though, is that the Broncos are playing on Sunday. So they may keep Katoni Staggs out of their side because he may be on the reserve bench for the Broncos. So Redcliffe could be in danger of not having a couple of players there because, I don't know if there's any injuries in the Broncos lineup, but, Katoni Staggs has been playing for the Broncos.
But obviously that's something to have if you're going to be affiliated with an NRL club.
That's it.
You're going to get that problem. Like you said, we said the Jets and the other one, they don't have that problem because they can have a settled team. If you're going to have the future stars in the Katoni Staggs and the different ones like that, obviously when finals time, the Broncos aren't thinking of Redcliffe, are they? They're thinking of the Broncos. So.
And the other key thing in this matchup is this is actually a more important game than what they think. Obviously, it goes into the grand final, but if East and Ipswich play the way that they did last week, you wouldn't want to play them next week. You want to secure your spot in that grand final, and then at least if you're going to meet them,
let's get there first.
Let's get there. But
get there,
I guess what's your tip for the weekend out of both games?
I'm going Jets and Burleigh, 2 away teams. So
yeah, you're dead to me.
Yep.
I'm
right. But
get ready. Here comes another bullet. I think Burleigh. They just seem to have the wood on Redcliffe, but Burleigh. They haven't got any more affiliation. Obviously, the Titans route, so they can pick whoever they want. The only thing I'm worried about with the Redcliffe Dolphins is you talk about players stepping up. Their BRL side have progressed straight in the grand final, so they can bring up players like Tony Tamusa and all that sort of stuff, and that's what they're used for. So they've got the depth of Redcliffe. So it all depends on who gets picked. But I think Burleigh just quietly confident that they'll get the points. And as for the other game, throw the coin there. But I think Jets are going for 8 in the trot.
You're both idiots. No, I'm going to go. I'm going to stick by my decision early on that I still think it's an East Redcliffe grand final. So obviously this week I'm going to tip East and I'm going to tip Redcliffe.
All right, well, Terry, we'll see how we go next week.
You've gone pretty good with your tips this year, so that.
I'm going. No, I'm going.
So it's a Burleigh Jets grand final.
I'm going with the form guide of Bomber Breeze there, picking Nate Neal. So I think you got the form on the board. Put your money on what Bomber says, guys. Don't worry about Terry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
He's
right.
eating lentils for a week if you do.
I am eating lentils. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Big thank you to our panel, both Bomber and John
Thank you.
Devine from Calling All Sports Brisbane. Now, if you would like to join the discussion, please follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Just search After the AT80. You can also download us as a video podcast on iTunes. And I'm Terry Pascoe. We'll see you next week.